Hi, I'm Larry Puckett, the DCC guy. Today we're back over here at the modules because I have some things that I want to show you that require a layout separate from my Digitrex controlled Piedmont Southern. And the modules are just perfect for that. Now what I want to do is show you how you can expand the power output from your DCC system by adding an extra booster. So let's go ahead and take a look at how that works. Now, there are a lot of introductory DCC systems available on the market today. And there is a good chance that if you're just starting with DCC, you might have purchased one of these. So I'm talking about things like the Digitrex Zephyr. This is an older Zephyr, the first one they made, and they've updated these a lot more now. But this particular one came rated at 2.5 amps, so it's limited in the number of locomotives and accessories it can control. The power cab that I have came with a power supply rated at 1.4 amps. So again, limited on the total number of locomotives you can operate. The Bachmann Easy Command Control Center is even more limited. The power supply it comes with is rated at 1 amp. So that's a big limitation if you want to run much more than the locomotive that it came with. Also, it doesn't have the ability to control switches like the other two that I just showed you. So that's another limitation that you have. But there are options for you for expanding at least the power output and some of the capabilities. For example, I'm going to show you a way that you can add the ability to control accessory decoders even though you're using the Bachmann Easy Command System to control the layout and the trains. Now, how do you go about providing additional booster power for your Bachmann Easy Command Center or one of the other low power output systems available on the market? Well, what I'm going to show you today is a booster available from DCC Concepts. It's called their Cobalt Alpha Box. And it's basically just a booster, but it has some additional capabilities that are worth considering. Now, how does it work? Well, it has a little power switch so that you can turn it on and off, which is something most boosters do not have. It has a reset switch so that when it trips due to a short on the layout, you can push the reset button once you've cleared the short and you're ready to run again. Also, on the end of it here, it has this little plug-in type screw terminal adapter that you can connect the wires that go to your layout to and plug it right in and you're ready to go. There's also a 6-pin cable socket here so that you can daisy chain these together, and therefore you'll be able to have multiple boosters boosting the signal and have different power blocks around your model railroad. On the other end, we have a number of things here. This cable here is the track output cable from your Bachmann Easy Command Control Center. So that is what would normally go to the track from the Bachmann system and provide power to the locomotives. So that's, again, just a little plug-in screw terminal. You just put your 2 wires in there, and the Bachmann system comes with this little red cable here. And it has bare ends on it, so it's easy to just plug it right in there. You can set it so that it uses the commands from the track signal on these red wires, or you can run a cable from the DCC system through an adapter for various other types of systems like Digitrex and the like. And then you can plug that in here and it provides the signal that the booster boosts. I'm going to leave it set on track because that's what I'm going to use, because the Bachmann does not have the ability to plug in here. Another thing that you have here is the socket for the DCC control bus. So again, with another adapter dongle, you can plug your handheld throttles in here. On this one, this is the Cobalt Alpha connection. So this socket, you could connect things like that Cobalt Alpha central panel that I showed you how to use to control turnouts and other accessories on your layout. And I'll show you how that works in a few minutes. And then finally, there's a power input socket right here. And it says on it that it needs to be 9 to 21 volts at 6 amps. Now, in the manual it says 15 to 21 volts at 5 amps. So it does sound like there's a little bit of a disjunct here, and I will show you in a minute that it can operate with 5 amps and even as low as 12 volts or 13.8 volts. But be aware of that difference between what it says here on the end input side and what it says in the manuals. Okay, so that is the booster itself. And what this does is it takes, as I said, the DCC signal that comes from the command station built in to the Easy Command Control Center, or to the power from the power cab, or from a Digitrex, Zephyr, or any other DCC system. And that's all it is. You just plug it in and plug this in and you're ready to go. But it has to be powered, so let's talk about that. Now, one thing that can be difficult at times is finding just the right power supply for your command station and your boosters and the like, because some manufacturers do not provide a power supply with their systems. Others provide them, and they're very overpowered and overpriced in some people's opinion. So what are some of the options? Well, you can, of course, go out and find a power supply, and I get emails all the time from people asking me what I use and where I get it. This is the Cobalt Alpha Power. And what this is, it is a 5 amp power supply rated at 18 volts. And it is designed specifically to work with the Cobalt Alpha box. And it comes with this little cable here. So it's got a connection on the end where you can connect it and then connect it into the input on the box. Or you can use another one of those little screw terminal connectors like I showed you previously, to use 2 wires if you want to wire it up for some other purpose. And then that just plugs right in here on the end of the Alpha box. So that's your power supply. Now the Cobalt Alpha Power has an adapter plug here on the back. So it has 3 prongs, and then you can get various extension cables that plug into it. So you can use it with a UK power outlet, you can use it with a US power outlet, and that's all it takes to provide power to the Alpha Power box. Let's go ahead and move on and take a look how it works. So I'm going to go ahead and turn power on, and we'll watch everything light up. Before we go on, I want to ask you to take a moment to subscribe to the channel. It's simple, easy, and free. All you have to do is hit that little red subscribe button, and when the little bell comes up, click on it and click all. Thanks now. Okay, so you can see all the lights are on here on the Bachmann Easy Command. It's up and ready to run. We've got a little blue light here. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little blue light in the middle of the O in DCC Concepts that tells you that is on. This one here, you can see another blue pilot light, and I'm going to go ahead and hit the power switch and turn power on. So you can see we've got a little green light that lit up, indicating we should be getting power to the model railroad. Okay, so this right here is a Norfolk and Southern Jeep 38 locomotive that came with this set. So it's been in the box for about 20 years now, I think, something like that. But at any rate, I just hit address 2 here on the Easy Command, and the locomotive runs without any problem. It's noisy, that's for sure, but that's mainly because it's so old. So that's how quick and easy. Now remember, I had previously been using my NCE power cab here on the layout. So it was a very simple process to just disconnect those wires from the power cab and hook them up to the Cobalt Alpha box, and I immediately had 5 amps of power here on the layout. Now, what I want to show you is something else that you can do in order to get extra functions. Because as you noticed, I haven't been able to throw any turnouts on here. And if you remember back when I did the video on the Alpha Central Control Panel, I put in the DCC Concepts IP digital switch machines so that I could use switch commands in order to throw the turnout points here on the layout. Well, because the Bachmann system does not provide the ability to control accessory decoders, I would be very limited very fast. So what are my options? Well, let me show you. Okay, so this is the Cobalt Alpha Central control panel, and I'll put a link to that video above me here so you can go back and check that out. Now, as I mentioned earlier when I was talking about the various sockets here on this device, on the Alpha box, I mentioned that there was a socket specifically for connecting Cobalt Alpha devices. And this panel is one of them. So all I have to do is take the cable here. It's a 6-pin cable that's used on a lot of systems, and plug it in. And you can see that it has suddenly lit up. All of my turnouts, the positions are shown. And let's go ahead and I can bring the locomotive down here, and we can run it down the yard track in a second. Okay, so the yard lead is switch number 5. So let me throw that, and you'll be able to hear the switch change position. Okay, so that's got switch number 5. So let me show you that here as the locomotive will come down the track. So, without upgrading to a more powerful DCC system, I now have the ability using the Alpha Central to control accessory decoders here on the layout. And it's not limited to just the accessory decoders on the switch machines themselves. You can use it with any other thing, any accessory decoder to control lights on the layout, and any other feature that you have used an accessory decoder with can be controlled using the Alpha Central. Now, so what is happening with the Cobalt Alpha Central here? How does that work? Well, basically, this cable here connects to the Alpha box here, which is your booster, and the signals that are sent for the accessory decoders by this device go into the Cobalt Alpha box and are then combined with the DCC signal to go out to the track. So any accessory decoder that is hooked up to track power will receive the commands that are generated by the Alpha Central when you push one of these buttons. So that's simply how it works. And that's why you're able to add that capability to something like the Bachmann Easy Command Control Center. So that's the easiest way for you to add a control panel, like I showed you in a previous video, to a very simple device like this DCC system here that doesn't normally have the ability to control accessory decoders. So that's what's happening. Now, to show you that you can still get things like sound effects, I brought this locomotive over, and I've used that because I've already got it programmed by the Bachmann Easy Command Control Center. But you can hear, I hope, that it's got a nice, oh, the sound just cut off. So let's go ahead and try some different sounds. I've already set the functions on here, so let's listen. You can hear as soon as I hit the function key, the motor started back up again. So I had it set so it would time out. On British diesels, they typically have a dual horn capability. So a high-low capability. So let's listen to it run. And I'll run it back down. It'll come back up now. So these were a little diesel self-propelled car used in England in the 1930s up into the 1950s, maybe 60s. I'm not sure when they took these out of service. But the important thing is it allows you still to be able to control individual functions here on your easy command system for sound effects, for light effects, whatever functions you've got set up, still is going to work fine using this expanded power capability with the DCC Concepts Alpha Box. Now the other thing I said that I was going to show you was how you can use a different type of power supply to provide power to the Alpha Box instead of using the 18 volt 5 amp Cobalt Alpha Power. So this right here is the 5 amp power supply that came with the NCE SB5. And it can be set at either 12 volts or 13.8 volts. It has a slider switch right here. So that gives you a lower voltage out to your track than the 18 volts. So if you're running something like in-scale, you might want to consider switching to a different power supply that puts out a lower track voltage. Because although the NMRA standards require decoders to be able to take up to 27 volts on the track, that's the absolute maximum. The nominal operating values typically would be much smaller. So with in-scale, I think it's somewhere around 12 volts. So you might want to consider that if you're working with in-scale, Z-scale, something like that. You might want to lower your track voltage. And this Cobalt Alpha Box basically is what I call a voltage follower, which means that the voltage that it puts out to the track is going to be dependent on the voltage that goes in to the device itself. And with these, it's just a simple matter of having the correct connector. So what this is, it's a 2.5 millimeter barrel plug connector. And that's what this device requires. And it just so happens that NCE uses this for the SB5, and I can plug it in, turn on the power, and we're up and running again, as you can see here, or as you can hear in the background. So that's all there is to it. Now what I've just shown you here, as far as setting it up for the Bachmann system, is true for any DCC system. All you have to do is take the output for the track power and feed it into your Alpha Box, and that provides the basic DCC signal that it will boost and send out to the track itself. So that's simply, if this was a Digitrax system, you would just take the output wires from your Digitrax unit, feed them into the Alpha Box, and you could run, and you would be able to use the central control panel with that system. And that's true for any DCC system made. So that's as simple as it gets. All you have to do, feed the track output wires into the Alpha Box to provide it the basic DCC signal, and you're up and running. And you'll be able to plug in the Alpha Central into it, as I showed you, and control accessories that are connected to the main power bus itself. You could also use one of these to set up a separate accessory bus on the layout just to control all your accessories and be able to use the Alpha Central with it, and various other DCC products that are made specifically for working with accessory decoders. Well, that's a wrap for today's video. So no matter whether you have an NCE power cab system or possibly the Bachmann Easy Command or one of the various other low power DCC systems available on the market today, there are options for you as far as expanding the power output and the other capabilities of that system. So take a look at the DCC Concepts website and look up information on their Cobalt Alpha Power Alpha Box system. You can also find these at Iron Planet Hobbies. They offer these as well, and that's another good place where you can look if you want to compare prices of boosters from different manufacturers. So have a great weekend, have a great week, and we'll see you here next week with another video from the DCC Guy. Bye now.